as long as we're on this screen, this is the toolbox. We're going to go over the RIP software and the server software over here in a minute. But this toolbox is key. This, whenever you're printing, you should have this up so you can see what your settings are. Okay. This is your user interface. So looking from left to right over here in this left side, this tells you your system status. Anytime you see anything red, or in this case, if this is purple, this lets this. Anytime you see something red, that means something's going on with your machine. Okay, so right now we're in standby mode when we printed the ink channels. You saw it went to prep and then it went to printing, and it does that every time it sends information to the printer. So here you can see your ink tanks. Obviously we're at 99%. That's what they read. There's no room to write 100%, so it's 99%. Mention this about ink tanks. Obviously we're doing CMYK. So the key thing is whenever you're doing your artwork, anything, if you got to use a CMYK type profile for your colors. Okay, if there's some specific color that you're trying to match, you're going to want to try to have that design set up with a spot color. And we'll talk about spot colors in a minute. But one thing to note on this screen is, and I think Carlos, we talked about this yesterday, when these get down to 50%, that's when you want to make sure you've got some backups or something on order, because yellow and magenta, especially once you get below 50%, depending on your coverage, they can start depleting fast. And the other thing is, it measures the amount of ink pulling out of it. So sometimes, let's say you put in a new print head, it might circulate a little bit more ink and pull a little more ink out of it. So it's not like if there's a float in there, it's digitally measuring how it pulls it out there. So just keep that in mind, because I've had clients, the customers call in and say, hey, it was just at 30% and then it went to 0. Well, that's kind of what they do. It's a 30%, but it's not as accurate as you think. It's just a good reference, okay? And you'll get used to that, right? So then here is your job. This just tells you we printed one job. That was the channels, and this keeps track. This is your counter. Total pages, feeder. It tells you it's safe feed. Then we've got our diagnostics. We briefly went into our diagnostics. This information. Key things you want to watch over here is, right now you got one page on your print head. Generally, print heads, you should be able to get anywhere from 70 to 150,000 in general. But if you're doing a lot of heavy coverages, they can wear out a little bit faster. Okay, so you want to make sure. We'll talk about maintenance in a minute. But anytime you do maintenance, it's a good idea to write down what the print head pages were at that particular maintenance. Another key thing to watch here, some key numbers. Total pages, the 1600 by 1600 and 1600 by 800. These two numbers added together will give you approximately how many impressions are on your machine. So even when you change your print head, these will still accumulate. Okay. I mentioned this purple area over here, this tilt. This is how level your machine is. And if you remember in the setup guide, the machine, it's physical, ink is flowing. You want it to be as level as possible. So you want to make sure you level the table, because if there's not as much travel on the printer. So make sure you keep that table level, and you're fine as long as this doesn't go red. You're okay. But black means you're more level than you are now. So not a lot in here. We're printing through the USB. You do have the ability to make this a network. You can print through the Ethernet. If you look at the end of the printer, there is a Ethernet port. And then you've got, these are your diagnostic printing. So we just print ink channels. We do configuration, diagnostics, color bars, all that kind of stuff right here. So that's really all you need on this side. Ink usage. This is where we talk a little bit about this. You can estimate a job in here. You do continuous pass or single pass. Continuous just measures the ink, the current job, either printed through a PDF or the RIP, and we'll do a little bit more of that later on when we get the RIP open. But right now it's showing we printed the ink channels. and that cost us 16 cents per page. So, but it says we're in ink estimation mode over here. So whenever it's ink estimation mode, it's not going to print. It's just going to print to memory and simulate the print. Okay. So in order, you can take that off, and now we're back in the print. All right.
How many iJets do we have on the board?
So did you have a question, Elmar? Okay, I thought it's just so you guys are kind of speakerphone. And then we also have a service menu. When we call in and log, you guys don't have to really know about this as such. Oh, are you guys? Is something laying on the keyboard?
What's the password number?
No, it's I can put it in. It's 630. 630. Yep. So what that does in the diagnostics mode, and you guys don't have to worry about that as such. It's more of a technical thing, but you can see it's kind of some of this is intuitive, some of it's not. This is the top of form adjustment. This is where the sensors read what's happening with the machine. If I call in and you're having some issues, I can actually go in and scan the different sensors on your machine and see what they're reading. Okay, so anytime it's either a 1 or open. So, and I can also go in if there's some errors, if the machine is reading any errors, I can go into this area here, and I can run the machine and check stuff remotely. So this isn't stuff that you guys really need to know about, other than it is available. This down here tells me what was going on with the machine. So it's just a Oh, okay. The speaker's not working now? Okay. All right. The Zoom meeting is 557 774 167. Yep.
Just give me a minute. I'm going to try to get the Bluetooth working again.
Okay.
So we can give you that because I started the English.
Oh. Gotcha. All right. Sounds good.
I'll be right back.
Coming back. All right.
See?
Hey. Oh, are you guys back?
Yeah, connected to the post.
I'm switching to a headphone so I can hear you guys better too. Can you hear me now?
No, vamos a connect.
Here, Carlos. I know what's probably going on. Can you hear me? Is this better now? Can you hear me?
I can hear a little bit better, but with the Bose,
The both?
is that the sound connected.
Check, check. 1, 2. 1, 2.
What I want is summer volume, and
Oh,
it's cycling by
check. 1, 2. 1, 2.
connected. Now see if I can get some music going. I know that.
All right, moving on. Let's go ahead, and I think where I'm at, I'm going to just minimize this small view here. All right, so right now I've got you guys minimized. So I'm looking at your screen primarily. So what I wanted to do was quickly. I'm going to try print from a PDF here pretty soon. But right now you see these two windows I've got open: Tech Bulletins, and I think I showed Carlos. I showed you these yesterday. This is it.
Yes.
This is your iJet color info. So you've got a series of 9 videos and whatever 17 documents that are also kind of correlate to like installing a parade head. There's a video with that. Some of the more technical stuff will have a video. But this is your information that you want to keep track of. And then also, if I go up one level in your directory here, there was also the manuals in here and the navigator manual. So you've got references, and I mentioned yesterday there's a troubleshooting guide. So the manual has lots of good information. And that's usually whenever you call for support, I try to reference where you can find this stuff in the manual too. So sometimes I don't want you to get frustrated. You can certainly call us anytime. But now, one thing you guys, and I know you watched it, so you've already learned how to set up your feed rollers. So you've watched this video. So let's go ahead and what do you got for envelopes? Do you have some number 10s we can try?
Yes, I have.
Let's just try a simple. Yeah, let's just do the number 10 simply just to start out.
Okay. Elmer is feeding it.
Okay.
Shall we put a bunch of them?
I couldn't quite hear. Were you talking to me?
Yeah. Should we use a few envelopes or only one?
Yeah. Why don't you put like 10 in there?
Okay.
You're good handful. All I can see is your conveyor. There he goes. All right, good. Now, Elmar, what you want to do is, if you remember the video, go ahead and put your first envelope in. You want flap away from you. Just put the first one in. Grab an envelope. You need an envelope.
He has one envelope. The only thing he has is horizontal.
All right, I can't see the right side. I don't see your envelope. Where's your envelope? What?
Yeah, because it's
Oh no,
hidden.
I want to feed it. Okay, I'm looking for a portrait. I want you to feed it portrait. Portrait is where we're going to learn first. Portrait before it's easier to set up portrait than it is landscape. Just to let you know, it will feed landscape, but for training purposes, I want to start out with portrait. So go ahead and Carlos, if you can show me what it's doing, that way I can talk him through it. So you've got the flap away from you. Go ahead and push. There you go. Yep, you want there. Go ahead and lock that down. Look on your. So what, is that your left hand? Your left. Okay, great. Move the envelope over. The flap. Don't move that guide over yet. Move your envelope over to the other edge. The other edge. That's your top edge. That the machine knows that is the top edge. Okay. So go ahead and now move. You're gonna have to move your back, Elmar, on the bottom. Underneath that guide, underneath it, there's that, you got to loosen that thumb screw. Underneath it, not that one, on the machine. Yeah, you got to slide that over to your left there to center it on the envelope. Otherwise, you won't be able to move your envelope media guide over. So center that on the envelope. Okay. Now you can move your other guide over like within a 30 second. Just touch it. All right.
Okay.
Then then you can lock those guides down. There you go. And then, as soon as you lock those down, then you can put your sheet separators. You can let those sheet separators down. Carlos, you had done that earlier too, so you said, yep, you just drop them down on top of the envelope and then tighten them. So though, what I described that's friction feed. Now you've set up your first envelope. Now you can stack the rest of them on top of that if you want. And so you kind of want to fan them a little, give it a little bit of a ridge. So what I'm talking about there, let me see if I can, let me grab some envelopes and I'll show you what I mean.
We used to use this contraption to do envelopes.
So what I'm talking about when I want to feed it, you want to have it just a little bit of an angle like that, so that it rides up on that guide.
Yeah.
Okay, got that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now you want to slide that back, your back stop. You want to slide that up a little bit. Lift those envelopes just a little bit to keep a little pressure on. Okay. Excellent. All right, now the next test is you have to say sheet separator 10 times really fast.
Okay.
Sorry, that's a bad joke. All right, now show me the control panel, the buttons on the control panel there. I want to show you something. Okay, so you got next to the power button there, you've got that paper resume. If you hold it, if you push that button down and hold it for 4 seconds, it will push that first envelope through. So hold it down, and then you'll hear that machine start up and it'll feed that first one through. Nope.
Okay.
Did it feed it through? Yeah. So that it's just, so you didn't have to print one, you just were able to see it. It fed through. Carlos, you could speed up your conveyor just a little bit. Or we're not going to print a lot, so you don't really need it on. It's probably creating some extra noise that makes it hard to hear, correct?
Okay. I gave it some more speed.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so now what I want to show you is you can print directly from a PDF, okay? So that's what we're going to do, and then we'll fire up the navigator and we'll fire that up. So I'm just going to open up an envelope here on your machine. So we're going to do, where's my, let's see, I got too many windows open here. I'm going to close down these here. And sample files, I've got a file here, City of Mesa. So when I want to print directly from an envelope or from a PDF, I click on the printer, got my iJet Color Plus or M driver, which we haven't installed that yet, but this will work, iJet Color Plus. And then I go into my properties, and you're going to see the default is set up for a commercial, number 10, portrait, and it uses this media type as iJet Color Plus. There's two profiles that we put in there, Plus and a Boost. The Plus is designed, it's less ink, and it's designed to work with normal. Normal is your fastest speed, 12 inches per second. Best is your 6 inches per second, okay? So I'm just going to print one envelope.
Okay.
So I'm going to just click OK. Print. Now, as soon as I click print, I'm going to pop back over to my print tool, and I can see it prepping. And now we're going to see it print. So it should grab that first one and print it.
Okay. It didn't drop it. It didn't drop.
It didn't grab an envelope.
No,
It says it's still. It says it's still prepping. I didn't see an area, so.
Yeah.
And there you go, guys. There's your first envelope.
Okay.
All right. So that's printing from a PDF, okay? So one thing that sometimes you got a simple job and you don't need to go through the RIP, you can just double click on the PDF and print one, as long as it's laid out properly. You don't have as much control, but you do have some color correction when you go into the properties. Got a little bit of color you can do. You obviously can go in and change profile. So if I want to say I want to bump my quality, I want to go to best, and say I want to bump my saturation a little bit. I'm going to go to boost, and still the same. And you should see a little bit more saturated item coming out this time.
Muito bom, bom. Yes, okay. It's indeed much nicer.
Yeah. So, you know, the whole thing is, you know, some jobs, because you're using inkjet, some jobs, you know, and you've got different types of media, you want to look at, you know, what your coverages are. And so, again,
Both.
so any questions so far? Is that pretty straightforward?
That was pretty straightforward. Where did you go to get the printer?
Yeah. So go ahead. You want to drive? Somebody else want to drive?
Let me try to print something here.
Yeah. Okay. Now see your drop down. You've got iJet Color Plus. So you got to make sure that's selected.
Okay.
Yep. There you go. And I didn't show you, Carlos, if you go into the size area, you can see your different profiles, portrait and landscape, your different envelopes, and you can create a custom one as well.
Okay, where's the profile?
Right, okay, so right here on this is your media profiles. That's kind of the terminology.
Okay.
And then, yep, and so different media. Plain paper works really, you know, good as well when you want to see where how your image is prepped. And then underneath, just choose that boost and then open up the size. Yep. That's a drop down, yeah. And so there's where all your standard landscape, portrait, envelopes. There's your A4 up there.
Okay.
So, and you can save different ones. You can do a custom size where you're saving it. The key thing is remember the printer the max width is 8.5 wide. So it's not, you won't be able to type in, like, say you were doing a 9 by 12 or something where you're feeding something that's wide in there. You won't be able to put that dimension in. You'll just have to get the envelope centered in there to where you want it to be. Okay.
So it's 8.5 inches is the widest that will
maximum width for the printing, but you can put a wider envelope. Say you're doing a 9 by 12 or.
Now, what we use here are millimeters.
Millimeters. Okay. All right. So you could. Yep. You can switch it. Yep.
Okay. That's what we understand here.
All right. Well, you can teach me then.
And
I just know they're smaller than inches.
Now, a question. The paper we use here as a letterhead is in inches. It's A4, so that's 210 millimeters by 297.
Yeah, right here. I saw it was in here. I'm driving here. Pop that open again, Carlos. And then C84 is right up there.
Okay, there it is.
Yep.
Okay, that's it is.
So that's printing from a PDF. I really want to get into the RIP. The RIP is the key thing because that's where you can move your image around on your envelopes. That's where you can get into your variable data jobs. That's where you're going to get into your spot colors, and you can do more manipulation with it. So that's just an extra piece of software. So that's probably where we'll spend most of our time on our workflows and stuff. But a lot of times, some jobs it only makes sense to print through a PDF. Sometimes on certain thin types, you get a little bit better reproduction. The other thing about the PDFs is you can only print 999 at a shot, so this won't go above 999 for printing.
Okay.
But you do have some color selections there as well. So, all right.
10 double sided. Can you duplex setting? Does that work?
Does what work?
The duplex setting.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I don't even. Is that even on there? I didn't even look. I mean,
It's here in the.
Oh yeah, no, right. No, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't do that. It'd be great. Yeah, you could just buy another machine and then you just feed it one into the other. So. And I could get an order for you today, Carlos, if that's what you want to do. So, anyway, okay, all right, go ahead. If you guys, that's about it on there. I mean, we could print more, but I just want to show you that's something you can play around with later on. It's fairly straightforward, fairly simple. You just got to remember where stuff is. So.
Yeah, this is just playing with it and get the
Yep.
hang of it.
Okay, so if you want, next I'd like to move into the RIP. So, any questions at all on the PDF? No.
Very okay here.
All right. So we talked about the feeding system. You got the sheet separators. The top guide is your media registration. Sheet separators, you kind of learn how to do that. One thing about the hopper is you generally about halfway up is about how high you want to stack it. So the one thing in the toolbox, what I wanted to show you, I'm going to close this down here and go back into the toolbox. The other settings in the toolbox right here, besides these are pretty obvious: cancel, clear error if you get a red sign, a red error over here, reset job counter, page counter, circulating, quick, all your clean areas. Light and default, this is called keep wet settings. Normally it's on light. You do have a heavy setting or you have none. In general, you want to run it on light, but say that it gets very dry out. Sometimes you might have to kick it up and run the ink a little bit wetter. But you could it just depends on, it's really a function of the humidity and dryness in the print area, or even, it could be your print head too. When the print head starts to get a little, it's end of its life, it might require a little bit more feed as well. Cut sheet feeding, that is unsafe. You can do max throughput. What that is that's the distance between the media as it's feeding. Okay. This mid-service job level, okay, you've got multiple settings in here. Right now it's set at the default, which is every 50 pages, it's gonna stop and clean, a quick clean of the print head. That's where the wiper roller comes up, and we'll show you the wiper roller in a minute. But the wiper roller comes up and quickly wipes off any excess ink off the head. So if you're doing a simple job like that Mason that we just did, I would probably bump that up to 250 pages. It's not a lot of ink. It's not a lot of coverage. So again, by hitting your print head less, you're going to save a little bit of wear and tear. You could even get up to 500. If you get up in this range, you want to make sure it's pretty light what you're printing, but you certainly could try these settings as well. Again, it's just remembering that's an option for you when you're printing. Purge bar. This setting here, 3000 is about 1/10 of an inch. So I don't know what that is in millimeters, but this 3000 refers to because it's ink head, it does a purge. Basically, it shoots a little bit of ink between every printing. So, there's that little gap between the media. That's called that's where it purges. So sometimes when you're doing longer media, you might have to adjust that because it's trying to measure that distance, and sometimes it on a longer one it might be off just a little bit. So then you might say, hey, I need to increase that distance for the purge bar setting, and you would notice it by you'd see a line of ink on your media. Ignore exit sensor. What that does is when you are feeding longer media, you might run into, again, a sensor issue, or if it's a different color media, let's say it's a lighter color, the sensors are optical, so it may misread. It'll sense it when it feeds it, but it might miss it when it exits. And so if it doesn't read it, it will say it's an error and it will stop the machine, say there's a paper path error. So sometimes on longer media, we'll just disable, ignore the exit sensor. So you could actually run it all the time with that off, but sometimes with some media, you want to go ahead and leave that on, okay? The other thing is this overlap detection. This is always off. So, and again, anytime you make a change, you want to submit it, all right? And then finally, in your service area, replace inks. Whenever you replace an ink tank, you want to use this button, and it's going to come back and tell you to continue. It's now safe. What it did is it shut the power off to the ink tanks, okay? And now I'm just going to refresh my levels, but there's power to those, so you want to cut the power when you replace the ink tank because you're touching that connector, okay? So it's important to follow that procedure. Again, there's a PDF and a video on that. Eject the service station. I'm going to show you that video. That is the main component that comes up and wipes your printhead clean, helps you keep it moist, helps wick the excess ink away from the printhead, okay? So it's part of your maintenance procedure. So you got to eject, and then you also got to install it. System deprime, that's primarily going to use that when you need to change out or take out your printhead. We recommend taking out the printhead if the machine's going to be sitting down for 10 days or so. You could take your printhead out. If you don't take it out, you might have to moisten it up a little bit because remember, the ink might have a chance to a little dry and create a little clogging on your nozzles, okay? So that's to release that. And then release printhead, we've already done that because you were able to put a new one in there. You can also shut down and restart the printer from here. So sometimes when you're doing that, that's really, if there was a hang up to the printer, you might have to, the printer is a computer as well. And so it has RAM in it. So sometimes if you send a job or there's an error, you might have to shut the printer down to clear the memory in the printer and then start it back up. So it's easier just to hit shut down and restart. Remember though, whenever you power that printer down, it has a power down sequence, and it also has a power up sequence. So you only have to hit the button once, and then it does its thing. So in other words, like when it starts up from no power, you hit it once, it takes about 45 seconds to power up. Same shutting down, it probably takes a little bit less, but it takes a little bit of time to shut down. So just remember that, okay? And this area, you don't have to worry too much about this area here. So, okay, that's a quick, well, not so quick, but that's the toolbox. So I just minimized that. Now I want to start up the software for the first time, okay? I'm going to leave our sample files open. So when we start up the RIP, or the RIP computer, you can see we've got these two files labeled Navigator 1, Navigator 2. You want to start them up in that sequence, okay? But before I do that, I want to check one thing here. Trying to get them to set this from the factory. We run Windows 8 compatibility for the software, so that's what I just want to make sure that's set, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. Now I'm just going to start the software. Hopefully it sees our dongle. We want to run it, yes. So it takes a little bit the first time. It's checking all our licensing. Sweet. Okay, so it said it was unable to find the security code. So what I want you to do, Carlos, is hang on. I want to shut this down. And I want you to just pull that key out and plug it back in. So just wait a minute here.
Okay, shut down the computer.
No, just
and,
I just want to take that dongle out again. The license key. So just wait till the software shuts down here. Hang on. All right, good. All right, software shut down. So go ahead, take that dongle out and put it back in.
okay.
All right.
Okay. Just that changes from place. Maybe like the whole.
I don't know. Seems like the first time you start it up is kind of. All right, so it's failing to find it. So I'm going to just do one thing here.
Or restart the whole computer.
No, you don't have to do that. I'll show you. I just have to go in. I'm going to just shut off the licensing thing, restart the licensing. I think that'll do it for us. So just, and you won't have to worry about this once I get it started for the first time here. So what happens is, so this is software that we're running, and with all the new security stuff, Windows 10 has been updating its security protocols, and so they don't see us. They kind of have this extortion thing where they make you get your approved Microsoft vendor, so that it knows that you're licensed or whatever, which is fine. It makes sense because there's a lot of bad software out there. So they have that. So this is this licensing manager. So all I'm doing is just I'm starting it and stopping it. And now I need to start it again. I think this is going to solve our problems. So close that again and try it one more time. And hopefully it sees that dongle. Licensing.
Kenny.
Look at there, it did it. Yay! So when it starts all this is normal. So as soon as that comes up, you can click OK. And what I usually do is, this is called the SOAR. This is basically the program that communicates between the client and the server. This is how your RIP functions. So it's
basically
yep, exactly. That's the RIP software. That's what they use. So that now we started 1. Now as soon as we saw that OK, we can start 2. So now I'm starting the client software. The first time you start this, it's going to come up with a user. Okay, it failed to log in. So the username is user with a capital U, and there is no password. And just click OK. And here we are. This is the client. This is where we're going to put all our jobs, okay? So just to get, and I want to run, do you guys have some of your jobs ready today?
No,
okay.
I don't have anything.
Well, we've got, you see, I've got some sample jobs, so we'll run those. So let's just get from, this is your main operating area for your RIP software, okay? So also, just to let you guys know, I kind of have a stop. I have to be done here in about 45 minutes, but we'll try to get as far as we can. We can always try to continue a little bit a later date, but just want to let you know, and we'll try to cover as much as we can here. So we're doing well. So what we're doing here, these are basically your presets. So this comes straight from the factory. You can adjust these. Best quality is your 6 inches per second. Fast speed is your 12 inches per second. And then we have landscape orientation, portrait orientation. And so we'll show you that. But generally, this is your presets, if you will, preset workflows. And then you can change the job workflows. Notice across the top, you have your file. So this is all your jobs. You also have different controls that will go into that. So if you ever changed one of these, you can right click it, you can copy them, you can edit them, you can delete them. But if I make a change in here, remember this is a preset. So if I go in here and I change any of these settings, so that we decide, depending on whatever, we can make our custom one. It all depends on the jobs, as you guys know. Anytime you're going to make a change, you hit the wrench. This enters and exits a workflow, and it would save any of the changes that you made. Okay?
Where did you?
So you highlight the job. Any of these are workflows. Right click, and they can edit. If you want to drive, I can direct you. If one of you guys want to drive, we can go through the screen. That might be a good way to learn. Who's driving? All right, who's driving? Slow down. You're getting a little fast there. All right, there you go. So there's really not a lot of, there is a lot of sophistication, but you don't have to change too much. When we actually get into printing, then I'm going to go over some of these choices, okay?
Here you used to adjust the image on the envelope.
And so if you think about it, in the presets, you'd always want to start from a 0 point, right? You wouldn't want to have any offsets built in. So that's one way you want to think of, obviously, the presets, the preset workflows. Now, it's different if you got a job and the graphics laid out or whatever you need to do to make it work, especially if it's a full bleed, you know. So you just want to do that in the job. And so we're going to bring in a job here in a second, and then we'll actually adjust some of that stuff. And we'll also do a spot color as well. Okay?
And once I'm done here,
you got to hit the wrench up there at the top. Now also notice all the way over to the right is your toolbox. You see that toolbox icon? So if you go ahead and click on that and see, we use the browser, and now we're back into the toolbox and we're interfacing the printer. So normally you want this on, and you can see we've got three instances, and the tabs open up, but they're all pointing to the printer, okay? So one of the ways I like to work is, let me just drive for a second. I usually like to just keep this window open so I can move back and forth, and so I'll have, and I don't really need a lot of the bottom. I just want to be able to see over here what's going on. So you can see I'll have 3 windows layered. This one tells me that data is going to the SOAR, and then I have my client, so I run my job here, right? So now we're going to bring in a job, our first job. So I'm going to bring a sample. So I'm going to drive here for a second. We're going to do best quality portrait, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this folder. I guess I've already got it open here. These are my sample files, okay? So again, I'm going to close that. iJet Color Info. I'm going into my sample files, and this is where, you know, if you're out of the network, you can bring the jobs over, drop them into the workflows. I can show you where that is on the computer. But that City of Mason job, we ran that, okay? I'm just going to grab that, and you can drag it right into the workflow. I can either drag it here or I can drop it over here. So I'm just going to grab it, and I'm going to go up to best quality portrait and let it go. And there it is. Okay? So now I'm just going to click out of that. Oops, I clicked out of that. So one thing to notice too, you can modify these windows a little bit. You can see when I mouse over it, kind of gives me that line. So you can adjust those windows. So now we're in this job. It's ready to go. It's in pause mode. I could print it right away. As soon as I highlight that, I can say I want to print just 1 or 2, but let's try printing 2 this time. I'm going to go to Output Options. I'm just going to print 2, so I can just highlight that. Again, I right-clicked on the job, click OK. You can see in pause mode, now I've got my play button or start, release the selected job. And so when I click on this, it's going to release it to the printer. And now I can go and click on my window here. See, it's going to prep, and it should print 2 envelopes here. Oh, do we run out? Do we run out of envelopes? It jammed?
No.
What happened there?
It's just coming out.
Okay, so go ahead and let's see. So what you want to do? Let's see. I'm going to move over to the Zoom and see what you guys are doing here. So where did the paper jam? Can you show me in the Zoom? Oh, it ran into the it ran into your rollers, right? Coming out. Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of a good type. Let's go ahead and stop the conveyor there, Carlos. Yeah, just stop the conveyor for a second. Just be easier to work. Okay, so one thing on that conveyor, you want to move those rollers back or flip them over, because you want to leave room for that media to exit out of that conveyor.
Yeah,
so you can slide that whole assembly back or just flip those rollers the other way. Back away from the machine so the media can exit. What you're really trying to do is once it gets out, you want that thing to be able to pull it once it's completed printing and then exit to your media tray. Okay? But you don't want it to be too close, because then it interferes with the printing and jams it back into the printhead. It doesn't let the media exit. Make sense?
Okay.
So now if you remember, if you look at your screen, we've got red paper path, paper jam, right? So that's an error, and that's what your screen looks like when there's an error. So now that we've cleared that error, we just have to go over here and clear it, and it's going to probably try to print that second envelope now.
Okay.
And how'd that work?
Okay. I got 1 envelope out well and
one that got jammed. Congratulations, you had your first error. But we won't bench you for your first error. I just want to let you know we're keeping you in the game. So that's a little baseball metaphor there. So all right. So so that's kind of how that works. Now we mentioned it's sometimes easier for me to drive, so I'll let you drive here. But I mentioned the workflow. Okay, this is our presets. Here's where we can right click. What I did is I highlighted the job. I'm right clicking, and I'm going to edit my jobs workflow. So there isn't much I would do here. This is already set. My hot folder tells me I'm the best quality portrait. I'll show you where that is on your machine, so you can throw jobs in there. We don't have a spot color. The spot color would have to be embedded into the PDF, and so that would come out of your InDesign probably. But our output, right now, we're using a paper profile of commercial envelopes. If I open this up, you can see I've got bright white, color boost, I've got inkjets, I've got glossy, I've got different paper profiles I can use. Obviously, commercial envelope is our most popular. Color boost you generally use if you're feeding fast, because you want a little bit more saturation. So you kind of play around those. Most of the time, you're going to be in commercial envelopes. All right? Just depends what you're printing.
Okay.
And The other thing is right here, one of the things that we run into is because we're doing CMYK, all right? Black in CMYK is not always black. It comes out, if it was designed with black, standard black, it will probably come out gray if it's coming out, because the black ink in CMYK is not quite the same as, say, an offset print. Okay, so we have this setting in here, which is, if we do this, this will do a processed black, which is going to make it a little bit blacker. Okay. The other trick is to actually design, maybe make your black a spot color, so that you can adjust the blacks in relationship to the other colors, and you can work just on the black. So that's the advantage of having a rip. You can also go into your color adjustments here, and I could bright, light, or dark, adjust my tint, adjust my colors depending on what I'm seeing. So you have something, if it's not built into the file as a spot color, at least you have a little bit of opportunity to adjust it. Down here, primarily what you're looking at is you've got configuration. Primarily you're running complex art, but you also have a line art if it's just a straight line design, a little bit finer type. Complex art's going to probably have image and text in it. Not a lot of change, but whenever you change your configuration, you want to make sure what your settings stay at. 270 degrees, this is your rotation, is normal for our portrait. But let's say that right now I've got you with the flap away, so that's 270. If you rotated that all the way around, now the flap is towards you, then this would go down to 90. You would just open this up in 90, and you would say 90, and then you would hit the toolbar, the wrench. I don't want to release it to the next stage. I just want to say no. But when I go out, now it's rotated that. So if I print this envelope, it's going to rotate that image completely, and it'll be upside down. Got it? Make sense? So, but now notice you saw me change it to print 90, but if I go up here and I drag it back through my workflow, it's going to change it back to my standard. And now that's the beauty of the preset. If your main change, it would take you back to whatever 0 was for your basic. And notice my black's back to black ink only. Okay? Now, go ahead.
Now this black with only black ink, if it's not highlighted, then I have
correct, and you got rich black. Excellent. That's exactly right. That's the theory anyway. But still remember, it's doing rich black, but it can only it's not a spot color, but it's still going to try to simulate that black using the rest of the colors.
Yeah. But this
correct.
Is the best
yeah.
way.
Normally, you're going to get your best black from there. All right, from process, because it's a CMYK machine, so you know that. Now, one thing that's kind of tricky is, all right, so you've got your settings here. Normally, scaling, depending on how let's say you designed it, and it wasn't quite right, you might have to bump your scaling a little bit. So that gives you that option, and then it's proportional. Underneath here, so you can see you can't quite get down here. See these little boxes beside your menus here? If I click that, see how then it minimized that one menu and brought up the other one. Okay? So that's just a tricky thing on your interface. So this is your key thing here. Let's say we actually had to move that graphic down a little bit. Say that right now, based on when it was laid out, it's not printing quite right. Need to move it down. I can click this. When I click it down, and remember, it's already taken into account our rotation. So I'm saying, hey, based on the rotation, I want it to go this way. Notice when I click down, it showed me that was 1/10. Now I can change this to millimeters as well. So obviously 1 millimeter is 1 inch, or 1/10 of an inch is 2.54 millimeters. So what it's telling me that it's a positive direction. So now you can take out some measuring device and you can put the dimension in directly. But by clicking this once, at least it tells you which direction you need to go, negative or positive, and vertical as well. Okay? If you had adjusters. So that's the other advantage of using your RIP. And then once you made those changes, again, wrench, and I'm going to say no on it, because as soon as I hit the wrench, it wants to exit. Okay? So now going back in there, and you can see those dimensions are still there, and I can just highlight them, hit 0, 0, and now I've adjusted those. So that's really kind of the limit to what happens there, okay? And this time if I release it, it automatically runs an output, and you're going to see an envelope. So I forgot that. You still got envelopes in there? Now you notice that time I said go ahead and release it after I made the change. And notice it ran it as another job as well. Okay.
Yeah, it came out nice.
All right. How we doing? Any questions so far? All right, cool.
No?
Yes.
One question. How do you have a driver that I can install on my computer to send jobs over here?
Technically, you couldn't print from there. If the software it's on the machine, but you could connect to this through the network. This machine on your network is yeah. So what you want to do, Carlos, is you can just drop it on the desktop, or you can log into this machine. The username is iJet Color and the password's Printware. And if you go in here in the Windows C drive, Navigator North Star is where your workflows are. So you go into Navigator and you'll see your let's see here, where's my workflows? Let's see here. I think it's probably here they are. They're in their case. So it's not this is the server part. This is the client right here. So right here is our workflows. You could drop the job right in here, any of these workflows.
Okay, that was where? Can you go back? Okay, so instead of using jobs,
Correct.
you use workflow.
So and you could just create a folder there as well on your desktop or however you guys want to manage that. But that's how you log into your machine. So this is if you look at the network, this machine should show up as it's looking at it. There's your whole network, and this is IR right here. This is this machine. So the password is iJet, and it's in your manual too, but it's iJet Color lowercase, and the password's Printware lowercase.
And the password
iJet
is?
Color username, Printware is the password. All right? Good question. All right, so those are the different, we're just going to kind of focus on getting to know the interface a little bit here. So right now, that's the job. I want to print a spot color one because I want to show you that. That's kind of the key thing that you're running here. And the only job I have that has a spot color in it is this real estate job. Sample files, iJet Color real estate graph. Okay, so I'm going to just grab that, drop it up, and I'm just going to stay in, just for consistency, I'm going to stay in best quality portrait. All right, closing this up. All right, now I can also quickly, I forgot to point this out. I can also print directly from the PDF in here. If you remember, I just double click. You see how I expanded that? I could still print from the PDF from here. As long as I can open it up, I still have access to my printer. Okay? So I just want to point that out. And the way I got into that is see these little expansion. See that? All right? And that's how I opened it. So now, this job here, this real estate graph, do you still have some envelopes? Elmar, you still got envelopes in there? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I want to still got to print a little bit, so I probably need a few more envelopes.
I think we have the $500. So.
All right, let's get some work done. All right, let me know when you got something loaded up. I want to print this thing off.
The purchase of this machine was done by
Is that
Alma,
right?
as a matter of fact.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw the machine. I showed it to him,
Wow.
and he said, "No, buy it."
So he's the
So
he.
it's his baby. If something goes wrong, I race out to him.
Dick, keep my number handy. We'll get you through this, okay? Is that right? Wow, there's some pressure for you. Don't worry, you just call me. Just don't call me when I'm sleeping. You remember there's an hour time difference. So anyway, all right, so here we go. Notice up in the top here, this particular job has a spot color, okay? But it's not going to show up until, I'm going to open it up here. It's not going to show up until I actually print it, okay? But there's a spot color embedded in this PDF, okay? So I'm going to close this again. And right now, you'll notice it's not lit up. As soon as I print this job, and I'm just going to print one, you're going to see this. As soon as it prints, you're going to see this light up. See it? So it's not going to look very nice, I don't think, on that envelope. But you see the output. Oh, what happened here?
Coming out, it quit coming out. Nothing its way.
Okay.
I don't know the reason. The same
Okay.
like
So
I did the first time.
Run in your. We moved those.
Yeah. It's like it's not been. Let me open that latch and see if. No, I don't see anything wrong.
All right. Well, I don't know. We'll clear it. I'm not sure what happened there, but let's just clear it. Let's print we'll print another one here. Well, the one thing we can do for sure, I guess, did you get any output at all, or what did it look like? Did it jam, or did the envelope come out?
The there's
Okay, so you got okay. So it jammed coming out. So that's what the line looks like. So we just need to make sure we have some clearance in there. But so at least we got some output. You can see the bars. That's what I was wanting to look at. Okay, so now you can see our spot color came up. So I'm going to click on that. And this tells me, so looking at that envelope, you can see I've got a Pantone 429 and a Pantone 282. Okay. Now, one of the things that I've found a little bit of a trick is, and I'll send them to you, but I've got a couple websites that I've got the Pantone website, and then I found another site that actually shows me the colors online, so I can kind of look at my CMYK settings, and I'll send those to you guys in an email. But the thing that you want to know is you've got your percentages right here. So, but that's this database. Sometimes there's different numbers, or you need to know which way to go, because you got media makes a difference, design, whatever the color is embedded. You need to make it look as, you know, as close to what the customer is going to expect. And again, you got to remember it's inkjet, so you have to know your media. You have to know how to adjust your colors, because you're not going to get some colors. You're just going to get close. You're not going to get exactly the number. So I've had, you know, work with other print shops. They want to say, hey, you know, 429U is 429U. Well, it might be on some of your other equipment, but maybe not on the inkjet. So you kind of, if you got a real critical job, you're going to have somebody's eyes on it that knows what they're looking at. And it sounds like, Elmar, that's going to be you. So make sure you come to work clear-eyed that day, and you recognize blue is blue and red is red. So the key thing here is when you get the CMYK, the one trick you have is you can go into the swatch sheet. All right. So now looking at my swatch sheet, I can kind of get a feeling for which direction I've got to go. Okay. So now I can say, well, I definitely need to go darker. So if I click on this, notice it moved. Now it moves with your reference to the center. It says, okay, that's the color you want. Yep, that's okay. I can also print a swatch sheet. I'm not going to do that, but I could print that. Then I can also see what it looks like on my media, or at least under light. Remember, a computer screen only shows you RGB kind of color. So you're looking at, you know, you really need that physical print sometimes to really see where we're at. But I can apply that color, and you can see I'm at cyan 55, magenta 44, yellow 32, and black 1. So if I apply that now, here's my settings now. Okay, I can adjust those individually, or I can leave them. Now the other thing that you can do here, and this is what you want to think about, depending on your work, I could create my own database. So right here, I can save it to the current job, or I can hit the plus sign, and I can type in okay. And once I save that, once you've kind of done your homework and you know that that's it, you can go ahead and use your database based on your own work profile or jobs. You can store it by customer or something like that. But that's your ability, and then you just save it. And now you just highlight it again, and let's see if it turns out a little darker. Let's make sure I got clearance to send that envelope through. How'd that look? All right, so and I don't know if you can tell, you know, it's not a huge color change, but again, that is kind of how you do the printware and use the rip in the spot color. Let's see. Okay, so one other quick thing that I think is pretty cool feature on this machine. Do you guys do any variable data jobs or mailing jobs? Okay, so here's a kind of a cool thing, right? And it's pretty straightforward, but you see I've got over here a graphic merge and an image input, okay? So we've already done let's say we want to use the graphic for City of Mason, okay, or whatever, call this City of Mason's your client, and they do variable data, whatever it is. So right now, this is the graphic, okay? So I want to use this on a variable data job, okay? So if you think about it, I'm going to go ahead and take this job, and I'm going to put it in image input. So that's the image I want, and I'm going to put it in here, all right? And I'm also going to take, I've got a variable data job or variable data file, okay? in here in my sample files, it's got 10 records, okay? So I just want to show you so you can see I got 10 records. So that's how the file would come in. You'd already have a file formatted for a number 10, barcodes if you're using those, whatever it is, okay? So then I'm going to grab that file and I'm going to put that in my graphic merge. All right? So now, when I go to graphic merge, there's my 10 records. And if I right click on this job, I could print it directly, but let's say I need to make some adjustments. So I'm going to open up this tool called Graphic Editor. Now I right clicked on this, and I've got a little video out of my YouTube, on our YouTube support channel, okay? So now you see the file in here, and here's my graphic I brought in here, right? I put that in the graphic merge. Now I can grab that, and I'm going to pull it down on the envelope, and now I can click on it, and I can position it where I want, and then if I click on it again, it changes. See how it changed these little handles? And then I can actually move this up and crop off that bottom part just to use the logo. And let's say I want to click on it again, and I want to make it a little bit bigger. And then I can position it. So the beauty of that is I didn't have to run another setup. I can just use what I had for graphics, and I've got all my names in there. I just merge it. Hope it doesn't run it. And so now I'm going to show you the. Now I'm not going to print it because there's 10 records. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Output, and I'm just going to say I want to just print the first two. Okay, so 1 and 2. But obviously there's two envelopes in there, or 10 records. So I'm just printing the first 2. So I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to print the first 2. Go over here and check out my printer. So there you go. Did I get 2? Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
Cool. So
That looks good.
So that is, quickly, that is kind of the other function that's kind of cool on the RIP. I'm just making sure we're getting down to the end here, and so I want to show you, we talked about monitoring that, talked about that, talked about media jams. Well, one thing I want you to do quick here is, one of the things that's key on this machine, so if you want to, Carlos, if you want to run the camera this time. I want to see what you're doing. Pull it back. I want to see the cover where the print is. So show me that. And Elmar, what I want you is I'm going to show you how to. We're going to inspect our wiper roller. Okay. Remember the wiper roller comes up and cleans our print. So let's open up. Put the camera on the cover. Pan to your left a little bit. You're up. There you go. There, I want to see the printer. So, Elmar, I want you to open that gray cover. There you go. I like this. This is good. Carlos, you followed directions very well. Now, Elmar, what I want you to do is, you see those in the front, I want you to open that clamshell. So do you see those little tabs on either? Nope. Towards the conveyor here. See those little spring? I want you to grab those and open that clamshell. You've got to pull them up to release it. There you go. There you go. Open that up. Beautiful. All right. So right there, as you look in there, that's a key area that you got to keep clean. Right now, remember that day. This area over time, when you get up to about 800,000 envelopes, that area is going to have ink. It's really key to know how clean that area is, keep track of your maintenance. And I'll probably send you a follow-up email on that stuff. But all those different components in there it's important to keep clean. Notice that copper area, that brownish area, that's your print head. Yep. And so it's okay to wipe your print head. That's why you want to get those lint-free cloths in your distilled water. And then right in front of that print head, so from this view, it's underneath. You see that little silver bar that's underneath, right by the print head. There's a little stainless bar called the envelope guide. Right, it's right next to the print head. So put your finger by the print head, and so I know that you're looking at the right spot there. Exact, right there. Yep. So that envelope, that's your envelope guide. There's two different ones. If you look in they're different thicknesses. This one is our design. It's got a relief edge. That keeps the media from going underneath, helps it go underneath the print head. Okay. Another thing I want to point out is on the bottom part. You see that platen part that comes up? You see those blue spacers? Do you see the blue spacers on either side of that platen? You see the blue spacers?
Spacers. No,
And it should be. You don't see.
I don't see anything really blue.
Blue spacers. No, on the bottom part. Not on the upper part, of the bottom part.
Nope.
All right, so oh, are they missing? Let me show you. Let me look at them. I'm going to show you a video here. Just keep that open here.
They get good.
Let's see here. There. So, do you see the blue spacers there? It looks like you're missing them on your machine.
Yeah.
You didn't take them out, did you?
Yeah.
They're not there.
No.
Oh yeah, there they are. There. Oh wait, what? Oh, there. Yeah, you've seen the video. Yeah, so your blue spacers are the whole. Look, go back to your. They're missing.
But on my machine, they're not.
Yeah, and the hole's there. Hang on just a second. I'm gonna be right back.
Lo vero di un cartone.
You don't show me nothing. You keep all that stuff yourself.
Yeah,
You
you
just
never ask
so practical.
I want one more thing and two.
Hey, look at this. This is a brand new install. The blue spacers are not on his printhead.
Yeah, it should be there. We'll have to send him some.
Brand new.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, you're
Probably got overlooked.
missing there. So I will get some sent out to you, Carlos.
Make sure he has the envelope guide too.
Yeah, the envelope guide's in there though, right? That stainless steel. Yeah, I can see it from here. Right here. This is this area. See the envelope guide right there? Yeah, you got it. It's right. That's what Elmar was pointing out right here. Yeah. All right. Just want to make sure, but you don't have the blue spacers. So what that does is the reason I want to point that out is that lets you, that kind of controls the distance. So sometimes when you got smaller, sometimes you want the print head to be a little bit closer to the media. Let's say it's really a thinner product or it's a letterhead or something, but you can remove those. So, but the one thing I wanted to show you is how to inspect the wiper roller. Okay, so
Okay. What I will do is I will send you my
Okay.
FedEx account number, so you
Yes.
can send me those blue spaces.
All right. Sounds good.
My FedEx account.
So let's, Carlos. So Elmar, what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and close the clamshell, and you need to hold the levers back. You don't want them to kind of keep it open and then just release them. So pull them, put a hand on both sides, pull them back, and then set the clamshell down. And then once it's all the way down, then you can let go of the levers. So it clicks. You don't want to force it down. You want to be gentle. You don't want to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
Exactly. Yep. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is leave that open. What I want to do is I want to inspect our wiper roller. Okay. So the way we inspect our wiper roller, and this is kind of a key thing, is it's going to be maintenance here for a minute. I'm going to put you on hold for just a second. Hang on.
okay. Everybody be going. Shut up. Moet je de kraan was gedaan? Moet je de kraan was gedaan?
Bom, foi demônio, mas não maneiro. Eu me desculpa, tá? Não é nem que gosta comigo. Bem, 21 anos.
All right, Carlos. All right, here's what we're going to do is so shine that Elmar. What I want you to do is grab, put your hands on those tabs again. All right, and what we're going to do is, as soon as I'm going to hit this lever here called white printhead. As soon as you hear the service station move, you're going to hear it move. I want you to open that. I want you to open that cover again. Okay. Are you ready? All right. So I'm going to click it, and you're going to wait. It's like about a second. Go ahead and open it. It's probably about right. And now you're going to see. Go ahead and open it up. See that wiper roller come up? That's your wiper roller. That's how you inspect it, and it looks. Remember how it looks. It's nice and gray. And was it spinning? It was spinning, right?
Yeah.
So that's
was it spinning?
okay.
No,
Let's try it.
It wasn't spinning.
Let's try it again. Go ahead and close that again.
Okay.
Just wait. It's maintaining right now, so it's not going to open. Yeah, I just want you to be able to see it running. It's running now, but I want you to see it roll. It's spinning, so it was probably rolling when it first opened. So as soon as it's done here. All right. All right. All right. Get your hands in place. All right. As soon as you hear it move, you will open it. Go. Yeah, we missed it. It comes up pretty fast, but that you'll get the hang of it. So that's your capping station there. That's what comes up, and when it's cleaning, when it sprays the knot, when it's maintaining, it sprays a little ink through there. There's your wiper roller right there.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the big thing with that
It does,
is
yes.
it has to be a little bit moist, but that's a key component on your service station, which leads me to the service station. So take a good look at that. That's what it looks like when it's clean. Remember that. That's how you keep the media clean and reduce your marks and all your dirtiness. So go ahead and close that. And I don't know if you can. Are you able to shut your conveyor off and slide it out of the way, Carlos? Yeah. It
The
looks like
conveyor
you
do
don't
that?
have a lot of room on your conveyor to slide it back. So, but what I wanted to show you is I'm going to show you on the video. Okay. So, if you want to look at the screen here, I'm going to show you so your service station. You just saw the wiper roller. Okay. The service station is the component that had the capping station, had the platen where your blue spacers are going to go, and your wiper roller. Okay, so some customers, if you do a lot of printing, they'll have a second one of these. So you can see this is the procedure. You open that up. We'd have to pull the conveyor out of the way. And then what he's doing is he opens that clamshell. You can see the lights are flashing. He goes into the toolbox. And remember that we had that eject the service station button. So he's going to hit eject. And what that does is that pushes it out a little bit. You're going to see he's going to put his hand in there and just pull it back. So that releases it. He's putting that down in case there's any ink. Now that's released it. And then he shuts the power down because there's power to that. So it's not a lot of power, but still to be safe. And now he's going to actually shut the power off to the machine. And he's going to slide that service station all the way out. And you're going to see those components. So there are three separate components just sit in there. And then you've got the wiper roller. And then he's showing you quickly, that's the power cable. You can see he just loosens those black settings. That releases it from the machine. Now he can pull the whole service station out. And so he's going to be able to rinse. He could pull the capping station out and clean off the ink that would be on there over time. That's the platen station where your blue spacers should have been. So, and then we've got our wiper roller. And that is a key component that gets a lot of work. That's your mid-service job levels, all that kind of stuff. And so it's a key component. Now he's going to show you how to take that out. Again, you got another circuit board. There was a little black tab on there that just holds that in place. That's just a clip, pulls that separate, and then he can pull the whole wiper roller out. And the first time you do it, watch the video a number of times, give us a call, we'll help you out. The key thing is, all you're doing on the end of the wiper roller is you just release this screw so you can pull these little bars that hold the wiper roller in. It takes about, say, 6 full turns. So he's just going to loosen it enough so that he can pull the black thing up and get his wiper roller out. And you'll see that the whole wiper roller assembly, besides the main wiper roller that's sort of a soft material that wipes the actual head, but that pulls out, so you see those release, and now he can pull the wiper roller out, and again he can rinse that with distilled water. But you'll see underneath there's a metal roller, and then there's you can't really see it because there's not enough contrast, but there's a metal edge. So he's prying that out, and that works like a squeegee system. That's how it wicks the ink away, any of the residue ink. And you can see now that's that bar there, and he's cleaning that out. And so you got to probably do that. It depends on how heavy how heavy a coverage you're using, but it's a key thing to make sure your printers, you get the quality that you need, that kind of stuff. So you're probably looking at, I don't know, it depends on your rate, but the average usage we say is probably 20,000 envelopes a month. So, once a month you should be inspecting that and maybe cleaning it every other month, depending on what you're doing. And it may not be that often. Again, if you're just doing light duty jobs like the Mason job that we've been printing, you probably wouldn't have to clean it as much. All right. And so, yeah, you want to get yourself some water, a little bottle like that. So, all right. Troubleshooting guide, I'll send that. Another key thing that's going to happen over time, I'm going to close this. You'll see how he puts it back together. Another key thing over time is, and you've got videos in here, but I'm just going to quickly, there's a cleaning sensors. I talked about the exit sensor, and I talked about the sensors being able to, the media feed. But you'll see there's like 4 sensors. So there's one underneath that first sled home, that's your entry level. And so he's pulling out the static brush assembly, so you want to check that out. And then you can open that up. And you'll see that's where the entry sensor is, with a Q-tip, a little distilled water again, puts that back together. And then there's a couple there's 3 more underneath the shell. So that's your sensors. Again, you can watch the video. There's also a PDF. And as far as the feed rollers, you want to get the dust off of them, the paper dust off of them. So if you got a small vacuum to get the paper dust, it all depends on the quality of media you got. Some media has a lot of fibrous or cotton. You want stuff doesn't have a lot of debris. It just gets everywhere. So make sure you're getting good stuff from your vendor. But if you vacuum it out, and then the guys tell me Windex works the best, and the reason it works best is it dries really fast and it does a good job cleaning it. So you just want to spray that a little bit on a lint-free cloth again and wipe it down. So service station, wipe roller. One other thing I mentioned was the maintenance thing. And again, Elmar, since that's going to be your job, and I don't want you to get fired or anything like that, so I'm looking out for you. So in here is a maintenance schedule, okay? So, and I showed this to Carlos yesterday. So I might print this out, this little spreadsheet. And if you go through the training, there's also a critical spreadsheet. But this is stuff that's daily, bi-weekly, monthly, yearly. And I would record my impressions. So when I do one of these, I'd take a look at my impressions. That's going to tell you whether you're using it a lot or using it a little, and it's going to predict what kind of cleaning you need to do. So that's right here in that area of maintenance. The other key thing, and you guys are doing this right now, is this remote support. So that's what you got to fire up, give you your ID and password whenever you do that. And then let's see, we talked about that, I've got our website bookmarked. So here's your online training. If you haven't got a chance to do that yet, I definitely encourage that. If you need to order supplies, you can just send an order to orders@iJetColor, or you can call in. Here's orders at iJetColor. Tells you your numbers, ink. I think you guys have probably worked through a dealer, so I'm not sure how that necessarily works.
I just ordered some
Awesome. Okay.
one set of ink today.
And then, so here's different options there. Obviously, support staff. You can call us anytime. Again, well, only during hours, but we do have, emergency service. There I am, Elmar. That's what I look like. That's the guy that's going to help you be successful. Jordan and Jim also are primary techs. Okay. And I guess the last thing, if you guys could, so I have your contact information, is if you could take the time, I got to cut you guys loose here. I apologize. But if you could fill out this form, it's right here. Give me your contact. Elmar, I don't know if you got a email address. I got Carlos, but it's great to have an email address to share information. If you think of a question, you can email us and somebody will get back to you or send you a note back. Kind of creates a reference for you, sharing links. If you could fill out this information for me and submit this, I'd really appreciate it. Then I'll enter all your stuff in our system. Okay? Okay.
He will do it right away.
If not, I'll be calling you
Forget it.
guys. I know your number. So, or emailing you. So that's quick. I hate to, end it too soon. But it's, again, give yourself some time. The manual's great. The manual's very good. It's a lot of good detail, especially learning the troubleshooting. You're going to run into issues. That's how you learn. It's not going to be perfect, but I really am impressed with our manual. I'm not one of those guys that likes to read the manual either, but now it's my job. So I think there's some really good information in there, and there's some good supplemental PDFs as well, and get to know your machine. But I got customers that love it. I got customers that get frustrated, but I got customers that have done really well with it and just love us. So I want you guys to be one of those.
Okay.
Okay, that's. I think we will.